Good morning. It's good to see all of your faces again. Did everyone have a good summer? Yeah? Did anyone have a bad summer? Yes, sorry. So over the summer, I also had a good time. It was still pretty busy. I thought it was going to be a bit of a break, but that's all right. I also found the time to start a couple new things. I kind of relearnned the enjoyment of flying a kite, so I've been waiting for like a windy day so I can fly my kite. I tried doing it on a not windy day, and it doesn't work. But another thing that I did, that I started, was I started a vlog. So, would you mind, this is kind of a cool time, would you mind if all of you were part of my vlog? Yeah, you would mind, or you would be okay? You'd be okay? Okay, all right. Okay, so let's see how we're gonna do this. I'll say what we're doing right now, and then I'll bring the camera around to you guys, and you can all cheer. Wave, do something. Okay, all right. Hey, how's it going? This is Reverend Hamasaki at the first Sunday for the new Dharma school year. Okay, here's everyone else. Perfect. There's nothing funny about that, huh? So this has been kind of a pet project of mine. It was fun. I've been wanting to do that. I see people on YouTube and I'm like, hey, I can do that. But it turns out that it's actually more difficult than you imagine. So I had my own camera, which that was not my camera. That's actually Manita. So thanks to him, he's been giving me a lot of pointers about definitely like the camera stuff. He's really good with all of that. I had this little tiny one and it didn't have like a very good mic or anything, so the sound wasn't coming in great. But yeah, so thanks to Matt. I don't know if you're wearing just short pants or really long shorts. But not just Matt has been helping me. I've been actually on YouTube. There's a bunch of people who do the vlogs, and I've been getting a lot of great tips from them. I only have a couple videos up right now. So if you go to YouTube and you search in Matt Hamasaki, my channel should come up and you can see the videos. But not just the YouTubers, not just Matt, not just other people like Michelle's also helping out a lot with the direction that it's going. But I've been trying to get a lot of opinions of different people to see what they want to see, what would be interesting, what would be fun, what they could learn. So I put it out to all of you. If you want to go, if you want to put a comment, if you want to like it, if you want to subscribe, and subscribe. Or if you just want to tell me in person, what you'd like to see, that'd be great. I'd love to hear all of your opinions and try to incorporate them as much as I can. Because as much as it is kind of like this therapy, almost like for me, it'd be great if I could do something for all of you. So it'd be, I'd love to have everyone give that. Yeah, that's part of it. The first one I did was just me talking into the camera, and I asked my social media team, kids, yeah, how was that? They're like, no, don't do that. And Michelle almost got mad at me. This is so boring. So don't worry, it's not just me in front of a camera talking. But I think that the reason why I think that this vlog will end up being good is because all of you will be able to get some kind of input in, and being able to have all that, I think it will create this wonderful thing. Because if it was just me talking about whatever it is I'm thinking, what I'm talking about, it really wouldn't be that amazing. And it brought me to this it reminded me of this idea of this Zen story. So our sister school of Buddhism, Zen, they have a lot that we can draw on. We have a lot of similarities. Of course, some differences, but I'd like to tell you this one story. So you might have heard this one before. It's about a cup of tea. So there is this philosophy professor So very smart man, he's a scholar, and he comes all the way over to Japan to learn. And after all of his studies, he has a lot of questions. So he goes up to the mountain, to this monastery where his Zen master is, and his name is Nani. And he goes with all these questions, he starts asking. He asks him about God, he asks him about nirvana, about life, about death, all of these different things. And while he's asking him all of these questions, the master's sitting there just kind of silently nodding his head. So after he finishes asking all of these questions, the monk says, well, you know, you traveled a long way, you had to climb up this mountain, you must be tired. How about some tea? So he gets up and he starts boiling the tea, starts preparing the matcha. And so the professor, while he's sitting there, he's thinking to himself, how is this possibly going to work? I asked all my questions, I didn't get any answers, and now he wants to make me tea. This is going to be a complete waste of time. But the monk, almost being able to read his mind and seemingly, he said, just wait, you may be able to learn from something from a cup of tea. So he comes back, and of course the professor's thinking, there's no way I can learn anything over a cup of tea, that's so dumb. So then he starts pouring the tea into the cup for the professor. And as he's pouring it, the tea gets higher and higher, it gets to the rim of the cup, and pretty soon it's spilling over the top. It's spilling over, it's getting onto the table, it starts getting onto the tummy mats, and it's coming pretty close to the professor's clothes. That's how much it's spilling over. And finally, the professor can't take it anymore. He says, stop. It's overfilling. It's getting all over the place. And so the monk says, your mind is just like this cup of tea. It's too full, nothing else can go in. You have to first empty your cup. You must empty your mind before you can learn. Yeah, oh no. No, that wasn't that deep. All right. But this points to this idea within Zen Buddhism of the beginner's mind. So this is prevalent throughout the tradition, and it's this idea that all of us should try to act like beginners. If we act like beginners, then it's very easy for us to learn, because we think that we don't know anything, we aren't experts at anything. Well, otherwise, it would be very difficult for us to learn. If we think we know everything, then there's no reason for us to listen to anyone, try anything new. So if we continue to have this beginner's mind, then it helps us to really learn a lot, as much as we can. Now, transitioning into Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, it's a little bit different. And instead of this goal of reaching enlightenment, we try to find who we are as our true selves. And our true self is often called a foolish being. So we become our foolish selves. We all think that we're very smart, we all think that we know a lot, but in reality, there's so much more in this world that we can learn. Our central object of worship is Amida Buddha, right? The wonderful statue up here. But it isn't a god, it isn't a person, it isn't a deity. This isn't something that we go to ask favors for. Rather, it's the personification, or it's this physical body of infinite wisdom and compassion. Amida Buddha doesn't actually have a body, doesn't have a face, doesn't have hands, can't really talk to us. But Amida Buddha shows itself constantly through different aspects of our life. And if we have the ability to open up our hearts, to open up our minds, to open up our eyes, to see and hear it, then we can really start to learn from infinite wisdom and compassion. So it takes many, many different shapes and forms, because it doesn't have a form, it could be anything. It could be our parents, it could be our siblings, our friends, it could be a dog, it could be an inanimate object. Whatever it is, it could be teaching us, but it's really up to us to try to have that beginner's mind, to open up our hearts and minds, to see what Amida Buddha is trying to teach us. And hopefully by having that mind, we can start to live a better life. We can start to understand a little bit more about the meaning of why we're here. I just really quick, I want to give a little bit of credit today. I was meeting with the high school students for the YBA meeting, and I was asking them, I don't really know what I'm going to talk about for my Dharma talk. What should I talk about? And this is after I told them that I was going to show, my vlog and stuff. So one of them told me, you should talk about your vlog, idiot. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't say that. But to give them credit. So again, all aspects of our life, if we are able to really open our hearts, ask other people, we can make our life much more full. If you please join me in Gasha. Namo Myo. Namo Myo.